Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Digital Technology session. My name is Gumilang Sahadewo. You can call me Gilang. I'm an assistant professor at the Department of Economics, Universitas Gadjah Mada. I'm also the head of the Science and Policy Working Group of the Indonesian Young Academy of Sciences. So today we're going to talk about how digital technology can improve research as well as improving several aspects of our societal life. So digital technology plays an important and integral part of our life. Technological advancement is also one of the key to sustain economic growth and improvement of societal well-being. Research in digital technologies is everywhere today. It's not only exclusive to developed countries, as it is also thriving in the context of developing countries. Developing countries are definitely facing challenges in numerous fronts. You can name it: education, economy, poverty, research and development, and other aspects of life. And research in digital technologies provide solutions to these problems. So in this session, we will discuss the role of digital technology in the development of research in the field of natural language processing, curation of cultural heritage in digital form, and opening up digital archives to enable data science. First, in this session, we will discuss recent research in innovation and publications in the field of natural language processing of Bahasa Indonesia, including but not limited to research on machine translation, electronic dictionaries, speech recognition, speech synthesis, etc. So support the Indonesian economy by providing academic works and services in the field of natural language processing, strengthening national identity through research on technologies related to natural language. So for the first presentation, I'm going to invite Dr. Muhammad Teduh Uluniansyah. He's the member of the Indonesian Association for Computational Linguistics, and Dr. Teduh is also part of the Badan Riset Inovasi Nasional BRIN, which was formerly LIPI. Dr. Teduh graduated from the Master Program in Computer Science, Oklahoma State University, Oklahoma, United States, and he completed his doctoral program in Keio University, Shonan, Fujisawa Campus, Kanagawa, Japan, in 2007. So he also holds a patent on a system to create meeting resume and summary of meeting resume in 2011. So without further ado, I would like to invite Dr. Teduh to give his first presentation regarding natural language processing research in Badan Riset Inovasi Nasional, or BRIN. Dr. Teduh, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gilang. Can you hear my voice?
Very clear, Dr. Teduh.
Yes, can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay,
thank you, Dr. Teduh.
Okay, thank you. I will start my presentations. Wait a minute. Share screen and entire screen. Okay, can you see my screen? I assume my screen is can be seen. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, Honorable Moderator, Mr. Gumilang Aryo Sahadewo, speakers, Mr. Hendros Bagio and Mr. Lawrence Sessing, and distinguished audiences. I am sorry if I pronounce the names incorrectly. First of all, I would like to thank Mr. Gilang for giving me an opportunity to talk at this event. My name is Muhammad Tudu Uliniansyah, a researcher in the Technology Center for Information and Communication, National Research and Innovation Agency, or Badan Riset dan Inovasi Nasional in Bahasa Indonesia, abbreviated as BRIN. In my presentation, I will talk about researches on natural language processing that have been done in BRIN from 1987 until now. This is the agenda of my presentations, which has 5 topics. Firstly, I will highlight some collaborative research involving BRIN and international counterpart institutions. Secondly, I will discuss some non-collaborative research on NLP. Thirdly, there will be a slide showing several products of our research, followed by some videos showcasing those products. Fourth, I will elaborate on the data resources that have been collected through all the research. Fifth, there is a slide showing some potential collaborative research in the future. On this slide and the following slides, I will talk about the collaborative researches that have been done from 1987 until now. The first research was the Multilingual Machine Translation Project, a joint research among institutions from 5 ASEAN countries: Indonesia, Japan, China, Thailand, and Malaysia, aiming to create a machine translation system to translate sentences from a language to another language by using an interlingual representation. In fact, our NLP lab was initiated because of this project. The Universal Networking Language Project was an international project involving the official United Nations languages and the languages that were used by many people. The Pan-Localization Project was a project aimed to build local language computing capacity in regional ASEAN languages. The U-Star Consortium Project was an international project involving 33 institutes from 26 countries to realize simultaneous multilingual speech translations. The ASEAN MT was a network-based ASEAN language translation public service that involved institutions from member countries of ASEAN. The ASEAN Language Tree Bank project aims to advance the state-of-the-art ASEAN natural language processing techniques through the open collaboration for developing and using the ALT. There were 13 ASEAN languages involved in this project. The U-Star for ASEAN Languages Speech Translation was a project to provide a single and unified platform for multilingual communications across the ASEAN nations. The last collaborative research is a joint research by BRIN, Solusi 247, and Harapan Kita National Heart and Vascular Hospital. This research is funded by LPDP, aiming to create an automatic speech recognition system to ease the task of doctors in creating medical records and other medical-related documents. In the following slides, I will talk about the non-collaborative NLP research that has been done from 1987 until now. Starting from 1987, we have been researching technologies and methods for building machine translation system between Bahasa Indonesia and English. Generally speaking, we have been trying several methods including rule-based, statistical, and end-to-end methods. In 2008, we started doing some research on the techniques for creating automatic speech recognition systems by using several open source engines, such as HTK, Julius, and Kaldi. We also have been doing research on methods and techniques for creating text-to-speech system for Bahasa Indonesia. Generally speaking, we started by using diphone concatenation method, while recently we were using the end-to-end method. From those research, there were several products related to the field of NLP, such as analysis system, generation system, post-tiger system, speech recognition system, speech synthesis system, and machine translation system. From 2011 until now, one of the products, which was named Perisalah, has been commercialized and marketed by PT Inti, a state-owned enterprise in strategic industries. For the demo part, I have prepared some videos featuring several of our products. The first video is about Prisalah, which is a speech-to-text system for Bahasa Indonesia. The video shows Prisalah in action in the Constitutional Court.
Objeknya, error in objektu, dan permohonan aku di luar jangkauan wewenang mahkamah untuk memeriksanya. Menimbang bahwa termohon dan pihak
In this video, the window on the left side shows Prisalah in action, showing the utterances that the judges speak and the transcription results, while the window on the right side shows judges that speak. The rest of the video almost the same, so I'll skip that this video, the part of this video, and starting the second video. The second video showcases our platform to develop a chatbot for governmental institutions. I am sorry that we use Indonesian as the language of interaction in this video, but I will try my best to explain.
Pusat teknologi.
There is an introduction part in the first minutes of the video. I will skip this part. In general, the introduction part says that this is a platform to create a chatbot that can be used by a government institution to support the national e-government program. Allow me to fast forward the video until the demo part.
Untuk memulai menggunakan aplikasi ini, user dapat melakukan pendaftaran akun. Setelah akun berhasil terdaftar, user dapat segera melakukan login. Ada beberapa fitur yang tersedia pada aplikasi platform chatbot pemerintahan ini. Di antaranya adalah membuat dan mengelola project chatbot.
After logging in, a user may create a project. A project may have more than one model.
Serta membuat dan mengelola model chatbot. Pada setiap proyeknya, memungkinkan user untuk membuat lebih dari satu model chatbot. Pemodelan chatbot dilakukan mulai dari proses training, evaluasi, hingga deployment. Untuk proses training, user perlu membuat beberapa data dalam format yang
For creating a model, the user should create required conversational data such as config, domain, NLU, which is abbreviation for natural language understanding, stories, and rules. After the model is created, the user can then test it, and if everything is okay, the user may deploy it to a specific internet site.
Yet another markup language, diantaranya data NLU, data domain, data config, data stories, dan data lainnya dengan mengklik tombol pada sidebar menu di kiri aplikasi. Setelah semua data dilengkapi, langkah selanjutnya adalah mengklik tombol build dan proses training model akan dimulai. Seperti yang terlihat, user dapat memantau progres dari training yang sedang berjalan. Untuk melakukan testing pada model yang telah berhasil di training, user bisa masuk ke menu Evaluate yang ada pada tombol Evaluate di sidebar menu sebelah kiri aplikasi. Setelah dirasa hasil evaluasi yang dilakukan telah sesuai harapan, user bisa melakukan proses deployment dengan mengklik tombol Deploy di sidebar menu sebelah kiri aplikasi. Ketika proses deployment selesai, maka kita bisa terhubung dengan server rasa dan dapat memulai percakapan dengan bot. Dengan mengklik button Start Conversation, maka akan tampil widget chatbot di kanan bawah aplikasi. Seperti yang terlihat di layar, chatbot
Okay, allow me to stop the video and move to the next video. The last video is featuring a speech-to-text system for medical services. The video also uses Bahasa Indonesia as the language of instruction. The speech-to-text system is communicating with an electronic medical record application developed by Solusi 247. The name of the application is Medis 247. To use the speech-to-text system, the user may do so by clicking several buttons and uttering one or more sentences.
INR-nya bagus ya, 2,82. INR-nya bagus ya, 2,82. Komplikasi pembedahan tidak ada, masalah intraoperasi tidak ada.
After checking that the recorded audio data is fine, the users may click the upload button to send the audio data to the speech-to-text system. Then the system will send the resulting translation text to the user so that he or she can check the result.
Komplikasi pembedahan tidak ada, masalah intraoperasi tidak ada.
Let me see. Okay. Through all the research, we have been collecting data that is usable for other research. There are dictionary and lexicon data, gazetteer data, monolingual corpus, bilingual corpus for speech recognition, and speech corpus for speech synthesis. I'm not sure whether this event will eventually lead to a joint research between Indonesia and Netherlands or not. But if it hopefully does, this slide shows several potential research that can be carried out. Here, the order of the potential collaborative research is written not by any order of priorities nor preferences. The first is building NLP system for local languages such as Javanese or Sundanese. Bahasa Indonesia is indeed a lingua franca for all Indonesians to communicate. However, the local language is still the mother tongue of an Indonesian. Moreover, a report by the Indonesian Bureau of Statistics say that 70% of Indonesians are still using his or her local language to communicate in their homes. The availability of NLP system for local languages in Indonesia will surely enhance the economics in many industries, including but not limited to tourism, education, cultural exchange, and so on. The second is building an ontology of Bahasa Indonesia. The availability of a standard ontology of Bahasa Indonesia will have a huge impact and boost research opportunities in the field of NLP. Although nowadays the end-to-end method shows promising results, GoFi or good old-fashioned artificial intelligence still plays important role in understanding the meaning and intention of spoken and written language. The third is building an NLP-based big data analytics system. The availability of such a system will surely support the national e-government project. The last one is to build a voice-based biometric system that will also support the national e-government project. And that was the last slide of my presentations. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tedu, for the enlightening presentation. I'd like to summarize very briefly the encouraging presentations as well as the development of natural language processing research in the context of Indonesia. So again, it's very encouraging that we actually already have collaborative research on the field of natural language processing since 1987. That was way back, and I think we have to appreciate all the works that our scientists have done, as well as foreign collaborators that improve and advance the understanding of natural language processing, particularly for the context of Indonesia and Bahasa Indonesia. And we're also very much excited with the products generated from a series and years of research in this field. For example, the Indonesian Analyzer System, and as Dr. Tude has presented, the Indonesian Speech Recognition System, and particularly the Perisalah program. Perisalah program, which is commercialized and marketed by PT Inti, is actually a very, very interesting tool. And I see myself, although I'm a researcher that deals very much with quantitative data, I also do several research on qualitative data, and I can see how Perisalah program can be very, very useful and very, very handy in a lot of this data collection using in-depth interviews, focus group discussions, as well as in-depth group interviews. And we're also excited that some of the products, for example, the chatbot development, have been developed to improve government institution services, as well as the medical automated speech recognition, which will improve the service of the medical industry. And we're also excited that there's a lot of data that have been collected from the development and the research of natural language processing since 1987. I think this is very much in line with the topic of one of our speakers today, Mr. Lawrence Singh, who will talk about digital archive as well as open science. And so basically all the data that have been collected can be used for future research in an open science manner. I think this is also very exciting. And lastly, there are some exciting prospects on potential collaborative research, not only on the development of local languages such as Japanese and Sundanese, but also on the establishment of NLP-based big data analytics system. So I guess I can summarize that the future is bright for NLP research in Indonesia, and there is a lot of collaborative efforts that can be done. Dr. Teduh, thank you so much for the presentation. We will definitely invite you back to the stage during the question and answer session. Okay. Dear participants and audience, we would also like to invite you to post questions on the comment button. Mr. Hawari, our stage manager today, will forward the questions to our chat room, and we will pick several questions to be asked to the presenters during the Q&A session. But for now, I would like to go into the second presentation. So for the second talk, we will discuss efforts that BRIN has conducted for some time now, recognizing the importance of preserving and accessing documentary heritage in various parts of the world. National Research and Innovation Agency, or BRIN, supports UNESCO's program on cultural heritage, such as Memory of the World. The curation of cultural heritage in digital form is carried out by preserving the results of physical to digital transformations and utilizing the potential use of AI to enrich metadata, text descriptions, as well as other digitization processes. So for the second talk, we will invite Mr. Hendro Subagyo. Mr. Hendro is the head of Center for Data Information at the National Research and Innovation Agency. Hello, Mr. Hendro.
Hello, hi, good afternoon, Mr. Gilang.
Thank you for joining us in this, lively discussion. Mr. Hendro completed his bachelor degree and master degree in computer science and mathematical information at the University of Electrocommunications, Tokyo, Japan in 1999 and 2001, respectively. Since 2004, he has worked at the Indonesian Institute of Sciences, which is now the National Research and Innovation Agency, BRIN, as an information system analyst and data scientist. He was also leader of developer team of National Scientific Repository, or RIN, at the Indonesian Institute of Sciences between 2015 and 2019. So without further ado, I would like to invite Mr. Hendro Subagyo, who will present his research on the curation of cultural heritage and GLAM at BRIN. Mr. Hendro, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kilang, Honorable Moderator Mr. Kilang, and Speaker, Mr. Lawrence Sings. Thank you. Mr. Hawari, can you? Okay, thank you. Okay, I will present about curation of cultural heritage. Next, please. Okay, my agenda in just two items. First is curations, heritage, and digitization at BRIN, current status. And the second, I will propose collaboration Netherlands and Indonesia for cultural heritage. Next. Okay, BRIN is fused of 5 national research agencies. Is from Ministry of Research Technology, ISTEC, Indonesian Institute of Science, LIPI, National Institute of Aeronautics Space, LAPAN, National Nuclear Energy Agency, BATAN, and also Agency for the Assessment and Application of Technology, BPPT. We have 5 national research agency fused in this year, and maybe next year will be more national research agency can merge to BRIN. Next. So the vision or the goal of the BRIN is to create collaboration hub and enabler for research, not only multi-local but also global stakeholder. And we call it open platform because we want to open our human resource, infrastructure, and network for all of research activities, not only from government but also business players and also academics. So we open our infrastructure like a laboratory machine for publics, and also we open our network so the business player or academics can use our networks to broaden their scale of research, and public also can use our human researcher, and also another function can use by business player or academics, and this is can make collaboration more broader and better, so we can make our research in Indonesia more better. Next. To open our facilities, we must open our what we have in BRINs. This is the slide that several of our infrastructure that can use by public. This I choose this 5 example or 6 example. Sorry, 5 example that especially this infrastructure is choose to support open science movement in Indonesia. The first is RIN, Repository Ilmiah Nasional, the National Scientific Repository. This is a national repository for research data that provided by BRINs. Currently, we have about 7,000 data sets, including 18,000 files from about 700 research data force or groups, not only from BRINs, but also from other research agency, from government, and also from non-government. And we have also Mahmeru, LIPI, High Performance Computing. This is supercomputing services that open to public, so student and also researcher, not only researcher from BRIN, but also researcher from outside of BRIN, can use the supercomputing services freely. And the next we have the most important services from BRIN is ELSA. This is sort of layanan science services electronics that consists about 534 laboratory or equipments, 51 machines, and also another services like research mentoring that can use by student and also other researcher, that this is used freely, yeah. And if there is some money that's just for buying a specimen or a good that need to make this lab run. But the lab itself, the machine itself, is free for everyone. And we have also rujukan home science journals. This is free hosting for open journal system that we provide this service for journal publisher in Indonesia. Currently we have 347 publisher that use our hosting OJS freely. And the last is print archive, this preprint server that can use by community. Next. And focus to cultural heritage, I want to start with GLAM. This is the program that initiated by Data and Documentation Center from LIPI. We have a goal that the 4 function that manage the collection, that is galleries, libraries, archives, and museums, must be managed in integrated method. So currently we manage this 4 function silos, manage it itself. Then we plan to make this function managed by one integration mechanism, and we want to use ELSA. Previously, I said in this previous slide, to manage this function claim. Totally now we have gallery, libraries, archives, and museum from 60 campuses across BRIN, and spread across Indonesia from Aceh to Biak. Next. For example, gallery, we have gallery mining goods. The location at Metallurgy and Material Research Center at Serpong. This gallery displaying mining goods and their derivatives products. Next, also have gallery collection of plant grains, location at Library of Bogor Botanical Garden, Bogor. We have plant grains. And next, we have also Biblioteca, this location at Library Bogor Botanical Garden, this library. And this is the oldest library we have, was founded at 1842 by Netherlands, thank you, from Netherlands, and become the forerunner of the library at LIPI. Next. We have also research libraries, location, for example, the below photos is from library from Jakarta, library Jakarta campus, but we have many library campus at BRIN, maybe 80. The bigger is about the biggest one is about 20 libraries, 20 campus. In this photo, this is a social humaniora science library at LIPI campus Gatot Subroto, Jakarta. Next. This is one of the archive building at Bogor, and also we have 4 archive building, one at Serpong, Bandung, and also at Cibinong. Next. Regarding about museum, we have historical museum, natural history museum at Munasain Bogor. This is Indonesia National Museum of Natural History. Next. We have also zoology museum at Library of Botanical Garden Bogor, displaying about zoological artifact. Next. And this is Geodiversity Park, Melangi Museums, location at Karangsambung, Central Java. We call it Rock Museum. Karangsambung is an earth artifact because the landscape and also the geological artifact can be found in this location. Next. This is the National Geopark, Melangi Karangsambung National Geopark. We have 500 kilometers. There's a morphology that varies from hills, valleys, plains, and until beaches. And the morphology form is result of geological processes from the limestone to the quarter and spread from the north to the south of geopark area. And we have also the 3D visual tour you can access at bit.lip.co.id/geodiversity. And this location is also the location for student from geological science to learn more about geological. And we plan to build something like a training center for students. Next. This is a screenshot for a 3D virtual tour of Karangsambung Geopark. Next. So, to make the GLAM integrated at BRIN, we have proposed 3 type of partnership. The first is collaborative programming. We want to make a program that collaboratively with other units, not only from GLAM units, but also research unit and also stakeholder outside of BRIN. And for example, we make a program of citizen science. We collaborate with Goethe Institute and also Social Humaniora Research Center, and also Indonesia Wikimedia. We done the hackathon, citizen science hackathon last year, and the result is very interesting, and many students interest to the topic of research, and we will continue this program this year, but with pandemic and also the integration of BRIN. This is the time of transition, so this is difficult, but we want next year we will continue the citizen science program. The second is partnership to create digital resource. We make some website and system that manage the collection of digital resource, and that digital resource come from many units, not only from research units, but also other units that produce the artifact for digital resource. And the last, a collocation of partners. We make the last program that we have developed is National Center for Biodiversity, Pusat Data Kehati. We will provide the collocation for specimen from research unit from biological. Next. This is the example biodiversity website. This connect to this call with we call it INABIF, that connect to JBIF, Global Biodiversity Information Framework, and also we have oceanography website that collect the oceanographical artifacts, and also the last is research data. This is RIN, Repository Ilmiah Nasional, National Scientific Repository. We collect the research data from BRIN and also from outside of BRIN. Currently, we have about 1,000 data sets and about 4,000 data sets that published openly for public, and that data set come from not other research unit from BRIN, but also research unit outside of BRIN. Next. So this is the last part, that collaboration between Netherlands and Indonesia. I want to tell about joint nomination of Memory Award. I want to explain details in the next slides. But the second, digital and preservation, we have digitalization of cultural heritage and research artifact. We have collaboration with Leiden University and KTLV, across with Humanora Research Center. Previously, Prof. Najib maybe explained that we have a program, Record the Future. And third, the last, I will propose to Netherlands with in this time the opportunity to future collaborations. The first is digital scholarship. We want to collaborate with Leiden University and KTLV to continue our program in the last years. And also we want to make a proposal, research data management. This is, we want to collaborate with DANS, NGO. And the last, Biodiversity Data Center. We want to collaborate not only Naturalis Biodiversity Center, but also DANS and Leiden University as well. Next. This is the slide from the previous joint nomination between Indonesia and Netherlands. For example, VOC Archives, the nomination is approved by UNESCO as World Collective Memory Heritage in 2023. This is joint nomination between Netherlands, India, Indonesia, South Africa, and Sri Lanka. Next. We also have joint nomination between Netherlands and Indonesia. Naskah Ilagaligo, approved as a World Collective Memory Heritage at 2011. This manuscript tells about epic creation of myth from Bugis civilization at Sulawesi. And the manuscript has come from the two collection Museum Lagaligo, Fort Rotterdam, Makassar, and Indonesia, and also collection from Leiden University, Little Singles 27, 2311, Wiki Leiden, and in Netherlands. Next. Okay, this is naskah cerita Panji, joint nomination between Indonesia, Netherlands, Cambodia, Malaysia, and Inggris. UK, sorry, misspelled. The Panji stories are stories from 13th century that tell the many adventure of Prince Panji, Javanese hero. And this story is spread at South Asia, not only Indonesia, but also to Malaysia, Thailand, and Cambodia. And the collection was collected from Balinese letters, also Javanese language, and also Malay language. These nominations approved as World Collective Memory Heritage in 2017. Next. And this is new nomination. We plan submit this year and next year. That is Aceh Hikayat manuscript. We won joint nomination with Netherlands also. And the next is Archive of Non-Aligned Movement, Gerakan Non-Blok, also joint nomination, but is India, Algeria, and Serbia. But I assume that some document is maybe preserved at Netherlands also. And the last is Archive of Sukarno speech at United Nations to build the world anew, nomination from Indonesia. Next. Okay, this is my last slide. Upcoming nomination plans 2023 And after, this is a gender equality archive. This is currently the stage is collecting the documents, and we have an exhibition last month that is Kartini Letters and also Indonesian Women Congress. This is also nomination, joint nomination Indonesia and Netherlands, but still in discussion. And the second, Jalur Rempah Space Track Archive, joint nomination plans Indonesia, Netherlands, Malaysia, South Africa, and China. And the last is the manuscript of Sang Hya Siksa Kandang Karisian. Okay, next. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Pak Hendro. It's been very enlightening to hear your presentation, and as one of our participants said, it's very encouraging that we have so many resources that can be very, very useful for our, not only for our future research but also for the society in general. And I think there's a lot of important consequences for having all of this data being archived as well as being curated for digital archive. So just to summarize the very enlightening talk by Mr. Hendro, just to iterate, I think this has been done previously in this winner session, but the National Research and Innovation Agency propose an open platform approach as a collaboration hub and enabler for local and global stakeholders, which stimulate innopreneurship not only for the Indonesian researchers but also for other collaborators. And it's actually good for us to know that there have been open science movements by the National Research and Innovation Agency in the past years. For example, the National Scientific Repository, which hosts more than 7,000 data sets, 18,000 files, as well as research dataverses. Also, there are also services provided by the National Research and Innovation Agency that a lot of us can take advantage. I think we're also need to be excited with the partnerships in the GLAM efforts. For example, the partnership to create digital resources as well as co-locations of partners. And we're very much excited with many of the collaboration that have been conducted between Indonesia and Netherlands, for example, in the digitalization and preservation by Leiden University and KIT LV. And there are exciting works ahead. And so, Pak Hendro, I have questions for you regarding the future works that can be conducted. But before that, I would like to go on into our third speaker. So thank you so much, Pak Hendro, and we will definitely have many points to discuss in a few moments. So next up is the last but not least presentation. So basically, older works have been an integral part of ongoing scientific inquiry. And not just for historians. I myself, as an economist, have been trying to look for past researches, past studies, as well as past data to better understand the dynamics and what can we learn from the dynamics in the past. And older seminal works can provide greater context to set texts, as well as disciplines to encourage students to use archives for enhancing their knowledge of a subject. Now, to become accessible online, archives needs to be digitized first. And so for the third topic of the day, it's going to be digital archives to enable data science, which will be delivered by Mr. Lawrence Sesing. I would like to invite Mr. Lawrence Sesing to the floor. Mr. Lawrence Sesing is the head of the Center for Digital Scholarship, CDS, at the Leiden University Libraries. So the central objectives of CDS is to support and facilitate digital scholarship with Leiden University in close collaboration with other centers of expertise, with research institutes, and with national and international research supports organization. Mr. Lawrence has a broad background in the area of open science and is currently involved in activities to support the use of data science, AI, of digital data and collections. Mr. Lawrence, I would like to invite you to present your talk. and the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Could you provide the slides? Thank you very much for your kind introduction. If you can go to the next slides, and I will brief you through the agenda. So first of all, I want to tell a little bit about Leiden University, then about our open science and our activities, then the relation with open science and data science, then briefly about our special collections, the guiding principles we use to make our data really usable for machines, and how we implement the principles, and then briefly about the next steps. Next slide, please. So Leiden University is a broad university. We have 7 different faculties. We had the faculties range from law to medical, also science, social sciences, humanities faculty, and we also have a faculty for global governance and affairs. We are based in 2 cities in the Netherlands, but the Netherlands is, as you know, a very small country, so The Hague and Leiden are very close together. Next slide, please. Leiden University is a university where we do a lot of on education, but Leiden University is also a research-intensive university. So we have we have 400 PhDs, 600 professors. We are active in external funded grants and projects. And next slide, please. What is important for Leiden University are, I think in this context of digital archives and data science, that we strive towards 2 goals in the next future. One is related to open science, and the other is more related to data science. So Leiden University thinks that sharing and collaboration are keywords in today's academic practice, and the arrival of open access and open research data means that the sharing of research data and results and collaboration in collecting, analyzing, and publishing them are becoming increasingly important. On the other hand, if we create and disseminate all of this data, we do that because researchers and students and educators, they also want to use the data. But for that, Leiden University wants to make it easier for academics to share information and to collaborate by providing state-of-the-art ICT support and infrastructure to facilitate data science. Next slide, please. Then some words about open science. Leiden University is in the process of creating a program to stimulate open science at Leiden University. And our general priority areas are development of new and more effective use of already existing research infrastructures for effective and open knowledge sharing, development of open knowledge practice skills in the relevant scientific communities, investment in and the spreading of best practices and inspiring strong examples of effective knowledge sharing. Also reform the rewards and recognition system to include open knowledge practices and incorporate open science in the key responsibilities of academic leaders at Leiden University. Next slide, please. For this transition towards open science, there are 4 topics of importance, and that is open access for publications, fair data for research data. We also want to include citizens by means of citizen science, And another topic, which is the bridge between publications and research data, that is the research software, so that research is also reproducible. And I work at the Center for Digital Scholarship, and we provide support for the implementation and transition for open science. And we support researchers with the necessary skills, but also with the infrastructure and with the sharing of best practices. Next slide, please. So these are the things we do for open science, and that is creating and sharing data, publications, research software. But we also want to support researchers to use these data. So we also have a group of people at the Center for Digital Scholarship who stimulate the use of digital data. Next slide, please. And of course, the Leiden University libraries, we have a very large collection, and a large part of the collection, more than 4 million objects, they are already digital. The collections of Leiden University libraries, they have an international orientation. They are being used in research and education by students, teachers, and researchers. They are part of our national and international heritage, and they include maps, photographs, books, manuscripts, videos, audio, newspapers, and journals. Next slide, please. Then we were a couple of years in the situation that we had a really fragmented infrastructure, where publications, maps, photographs, all were housed in different archives, different repositories. So we basically had the same idea as the speaker before me, that we wanted to have one system which suits all of these material to make it easier for researchers to navigate through all of the information. And to build the new digital special collections, we looked at 4 main principles. One principle is durable. So the repository must be in compliance with the requirements of trusted digital repositories. The material and the objects also need to be visible, not only in the archive itself, but also in other portals. So there needs to be interoperability with international portals. Also, we want to stimulate the usability of the digital objects. And for that reason, we look at the domain architecture for research data. In the Netherlands, that is the HORA. And we look at the digital heritage reference architecture, and that is called in the Netherlands the DERA. Another important thing is we need to take care of our digital sovereignty. And for that reason, we want to use as many open source software as we can, because that way we have control about our applications. Next slide, please. Then the guiding principles to enhance the usability for both humans and machines. We look at the DERA principles, that is from heritage, but also at the FAIR principles, that is from the science domain. And science and heritage, they also share the trust principles, but I only wanted to touch briefly the FAIR principles. Next slide, please. So the FAIR principles, they are designed to make research data, but also other data, more findable, more accessible, more interoperable, and more reusable. And now it is of importance to look really at the guiding principles and what do they mean for our institutional repository. But of course, and we want to be interoperable, and so that researchers also can share not only the data which we provide in our repository, but also data which is in other repositories. So if all repositories, if they use the same guiding principles, then sharing of data, combining data will be really possible. Next slide, please. So our new digital special collections, we use the Islandora system. That's an open source system. I think you now need to click a couple of times. Next, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. And another click, 2 clicks. So under the hood, we use a lot of open source components. So it's really a modular system. And next slide, please. Then the hood, of course, looks very nice, or at least we think it looks nice. But what we encountered also is that the first step we made to make the digital objects more findable and accessible, that is more for humans. So you can scroll, you can download, you can see what kind of licenses there are. But to really enable new research for data science, artificial intelligence, text and data mining, computer vision, our repository also needs to pay attention to the other aspects of FAIR, and that is interoperability and reusability for machines. Next slide, please. And our first step to do that is to make our digital images more interoperable. And we are a member, a founding member of the IIIF consortium. And the IIIF consortium has a problem statement, and that is that much of the internet's image-based resources are locked up in silos, with access restricted to bespoke, locally built applications. And the goal of the IIIF framework is to give scholars an unprecedented level of uniform and rich access to image-based resources hosted around the world, to define a set of common application programming interfaces that support interoperability between image repositories, and also to develop, cultivate, and document shared technologies such as image servers and web clients that provide a world-class user experience in viewing, comparing, and manipulating and annotating images. Next slide, please. So based on our repository system, Islandora, we also now make use of IIIF components, and basically that is an image server and an image viewer. And there are a lot of different image servers, a lot of different image viewers. They mostly are open source, so you can easily use that. Next slide, please. So that makes it for us possible that on the right-hand side, you see our digital collections, but we can easily get images and metadata out of our digital collections and display them in websites. So we don't duplicate the images, they are just being displayed in a new environment. Next slide, please. This will also make it possible to share and compare distributed images. So if we at Leiden University have part of a collection, and in Indonesia you have another part of this collection, by means of IIIF, we can make it one whole. And so a researcher does not encounter that the images are in distributed repositories. They look at it as one whole. Next slide, please. The IIIF framework also provides that you can make annotations on the images. And so that's already a nice tool for research. Next slide, please. Then we, together with some researchers at Leiden University, we used our digital collections to enhance the way in which they give their education. So we, together with the researchers, we built a couple of platforms, and these are only a couple of them, but because the sake of time, I will not dive into that. Next slide, please. Our challenge now is how can we go from findable and accessible towards interoperable and reusable? And we want to do that really because we want to enable data science. And to enable data science, our repository must be machine readable. So we want to provide the services that researchers can do text and data mining, that they can use computer vision, but also we need to give some information about our data, how it's being described, what is the collection about, also in the light of data and tools criticism. But to do that, we also have a challenge because we need to have new employees with ICT skills. We need to have data stewards on board who can do curation of the current data to make it more machine readable. We need research software engineers who can sit together with researchers and see what is really needed. And based on open source software, we can adjust that kind of software. We also need to educate our existing employees by means of library and data carpentry, because they need maybe not to program themselves, but they need to understand what is data science and what is programming. We also need to be partner in research. And if we want to support researchers with the tools and methodologies to explore the library and other data collections, we need to do together with them projects, pilots, proof of concepts. And also, it's not only that we want that researchers can use our digital collections, but also the collections in other libraries or data archives. So we need to collaborate not only with our own ICT people, but we also need to talk with people who are active in specific research domains. And also we need to have more international collaboration. And for doing that, in the Netherlands, we are building up what we call data competence centers. Every university now has a data competence center. Library and ICT cooperate there. And the next step is that there will be thematic digital competence centers. And they are really, they are the expertise centers which are active in certain kind of research domains. And then we need to collaborate with our European organizations who are building our EOSC system. We need to collaborate with the Research Data Alliance. We need to collaborate with CoData. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lawrence. I think just briefly, I would like to summarize the presentation by Mr. Lawrence. So Leiden University promote open science and data science for sharing and collaboration by providing state-of-the-art ICT support as well as infrastructure to facilitate data science. And there are several principles that we need to uphold for digital spatial collections, such as durable, feasible, usable, and digital sovereignty, as well as the FAIR principles: findable, accessible, interoperable, and reusable. And moving forward, I think, beyond findable and accessible, we need to make sure that the data and the archives are interoperable and reusable. And if so, we need to enable data science, and we need to also recruit employees with ICT skills and do some partnering in research, as well as local, national, and international cooperation. I think these are some of the points that are very useful for us, particularly institutions such as the National Research and Innovation Agency, who are trying to promote digital archive for open science. And I think this is a good lessons learned for all. I would like to invite all the speakers into the stage, and I would like to have a very brief Q&A session. So first of all, I would like to invite Dr. Teduh. Dr. Teduh, you mentioned that given the vast and expansive NLP research in Indonesia, you now have massive data resources. For example, Indonesian dictionary and lexicon, around 190,000 entries. Now, given all this massive data, are these data available? And are these data open for collaborative use? And have they been used for publication purposes, for example? Dr. Teduh?
Yes. Some of the data we have shared it for the public purposes. For instance, in 2018, we have published speech corpus for speech recognition system. It contains, if I'm not mistaken, 50k utterances. And the other data not yet available publicly.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Teduh. Moving forward, is there any opportunity for this data to be open for public use? For example, Mr. Hendro already presented the RIN, the National Scientific Repository, where they also host data sets as well as Dataverses. Will there be opportunities for researchers out there who can take advantage of this data for research?
Yeah, RIN is developed with mindset that we as government must be provide infrastructure that researcher can freely deposit their data, and after that can sharing their data to their colleagues, so the research may be more efficient. So, but this just starting the program, just only 2 years after this, and we have still has more issues. Like Mr. Lawrence says that principle of fair must be implemented well, but we just starting this program.
Thank you, Mr. Hendro. Mr. Hendro, we now know that the National Scientific Repository hosts a lot of data sets as well as files. Do we know, do we have any statistics on, the usage of these data sets, the usage of these files from the National Scientific Repository?
Yeah, currently the published data set is just about 50% that what data deposited in RIN, and the uses this I don't know the data now, but you can look at the RIN lipi.go.id. You can see how many data downloaded by the user, and how many data that still in the backstage. But currently, I can see, I can tell you about the detailed statistic.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Enro. Just one last question. I think this is a very important infrastructure for Indonesian researchers, and I think this is multidisciplinary, and a lot of people from different fields can take advantage of this National Scientific Repository. So is there any plan moving forward, for example, to have an information campaign regarding the National Scientific Repository, as well as an information campaign to use the data. Us as researchers from universities, I think, are going to be benefited from such a data set, and we would love to hear what the National Scientific Repository has to offer.
Yeah, this is the issues. So we starting to socialization to researcher what is RIN, what is repository national, and how to use it. And we have what we call a workshop for using this RIN, and this is still issue. Maybe we want to learn to Mr. Lawrence in digital scholarship how to promote this fair principle, and also how to help researcher better data management. So we now actually tomorrow we will have a focus discussion group with the funding agency, so they can make more regulation to the proposal for research. So data management must be planned and must be deposit to repository, not only at RIN but any repository. So you can track back to the using of data, and also you can collaborate with another researcher to make better research. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Mr. Hendro. For example, I myself do a lot of research with, either secondary or primary data, and for many of my researchers, we don't really publish the data set that we use, and for some economic journals right now, they actually request us to also publish the data set for accountability and for transparency. I think this is a practice that we must motivate our Indonesian researchers to comply. I think this is a very good practice for the future of our research. So I'd like to go and greet Mr. Lawrence, saying thank you so much for the presentation. Mr. Lawrence, there is a question from Mrs. Margareta from the audience. Leiden University have so many rich informations and collection. Do you have any statistics on how many people access your collections? So in Indonesia, we have problems not only with the increasing number of collections, but also with the person who will use the collections. And I would also like to relay Mr. Hendro's questions on how do we motivate researchers, to share the data, as well as to also use, the collection or the data provided by the Leiden University. I think any insights will be very useful, so that we can try to learn and adopt from the approach. Mr. Lawrence?
Yeah, maybe for the first question, yes, we monitor the use of our digital collections. And what we encounter with our new digital repository, our archive, is that we attract a lot of users from also Indonesia. And we have, of course, large collections also about Indonesia, from Indonesia. It is a challenge also for us, because what we see is that our digital collection, it grows in numbers. So we are now, I think, roughly at 4 million objects, and we see an increase in the use of it. And that is a challenge for the infrastructure. So we really need to look also at the moment, we can run the service as it is. But then if we talk about the next step, and the next step is to make it also machine readable for tools. And so if we will provide that, that will be another challenge, because then we will have severe computation issues. So we also need to look at how can we provide a service for researchers, and that might be that they will ask us what kind part of the collection they want to use for artificial intelligence, and that we will download that, put it in a place where you can really use HPC and high performance computing to run certain kinds of tasks. But that's really a thing where we now think of. But yeah, the answer is a lot of users, more collections, more use of the data, not only by humans, but also in the common future machines. It's a real challenge. And then the other question regarding research data. In my presentation, I pointed out that under the umbrella of open science, there's also attention for research data. And one of the things we do is we have a university policy. Every researcher needs to make a data management plan before they start their research. And then in this data management plan, you need to describe where do you store the data during your research and where do you store it after the research. But we also need an infrastructure for storing data during research and after research. And that's also a challenge for us, because at the moment we have some kind of storage facilities, but they are not really equipped that researchers can collaborate with each other on the data, that they can easily share the data. So it's a lot of work. So we, and that's the thing where we collaborate in the Netherlands with other universities to, because we are not the only university who encounters these infrastructure problems. So we are working now with a lot of universities in the Netherlands on shared infrastructure. And I think most of importance is, even if you have a policy, even if you have the infrastructure, for most researchers, open science, sharing of research data, it is a culture change. So we invest a lot in Leiden University in sharing best practices, putting and the ambassadors of open science on a platform, so that we will show like it's not only a burden to share your data, but you have also benefits. And one of the really big improvements where we hope for is that we will change the reward and recognition system, because now researchers are only rewarded for their publications, but we want to broaden that up so that they are also rewarded for sharing research data, sharing research software, and maybe also other activities.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lawrence. That's a very insightful information. And you are right. At the moment, we are only incentivized for publications, but in the future, I think incentives for data as well as program could be very useful. Again, as a research society, we need to improve on the existing and the past research. And I think one of them is to try to make the data available. So I have been reminded by the stage manager, and unfortunately, we need to cut the interesting discussions short. But I think before the very last statement from this discussion, I would like to give an opportunity for Dr. Teduh, Mr. Hendro, and Mr. Lawrence to provide a very brief closing statement on the future of NLP research in Indonesia by Dr. Teduh, and the curation of cultural digital archive by Mr. Hendro, as well as the future of open science and open data from Mr. Lawrence. So I would like to first invite Dr. Teduh to give the closing statement.
Thank you, Mr. Gilang. I myself personally think that the future of NLP research in Indonesia has a bright future. We have, as you say, massive data, but actually, to my knowledge, it is not that huge. I mean, for the for the speech corpus, for speech to text and text to speech purposes, it is still not that many. So we still try to collect more data, and yes, we are really willing to provide the data for the public purposes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Teduh. Mr. Hendro? Mr. Hendro, my apology, you're still on mute.
Sorry. Okay, thank you. I think this is the moment we still in the journey to open access. We starting with open science. We starting with open access, but we need a more broader openness, which is open science. And the open data is just one step, and there is a mass issue if we want to implement fair principles, and we want learn from Netherlands and other country how to implement this and how to make sure that data is safe not only for current existing researcher but for the future researcher. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hendro. That was an excellent closing statement. Last but not least, Mr. Lawrence.
Yes, thanks for letting me have a closing statement. I think it's very interesting because if I look at our own collections at Leiden University Libraries, then we have, of course, also a lot of Indonesian material. And what we encounter that with natural language processing, we use a lot of Python, open source, but it's really English-based. So I think we can benefit from collaboration on that point. And the other thing is even that we have 4 million digital objects now available, it's only a small part. And researchers are not only interested in the digital objects which we have, they want to combine it with other digital objects around the world. So I think we need to really collaborate internationally. And then from the perspective of a researcher, that for a researcher, there are no national boundaries. They want to have the data, the tools available where they are. So I think more international collaboration, if we have the same principles, and I think we have that, we all going forward for the FAIR principles, but also maybe for the trust principles, then we can really collaborate because then we have a shared goal, we have shared principles, and we can build maybe a really collaborative infrastructure.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lawrence. That was another excellent closing statement. Thank you so much, Dr. Teduh, Mr. Hendro, and Mr. Lawrence for the lightning session. I've personally learned a lot, and definitely the participants do too. So the future is bright for natural language processing research in Indonesia, and I would like to encourage participants, who know young generation who are interested in this field. I think there's a lot of opportunities for NLP researchers in the future, and for open data and open science. This is still a big homework for the context of Indonesia, but I'm very much excited that the National Research and Innovation Agency have initiated the effort to make data available for future researchers, as well for future research that is ongoing. And thank you so much, Mr. Lawrence, for sharing a lot of information, and then developments of open science and open data in Leiden University. And I think there's a lot of future collaborative efforts that Indonesia and Netherlands can do and establish to improve, open science and open data. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining this session. On behalf of the winner organizing committee, I would like to say thank you, and we hope to see you in future opportunities. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Teduh,
Bye.
Mr. Hendro, and
Mr.
Mr.
Lauren, Mr. Teduh, Milan. Thank you.
Have a good evening in Jakarta and good afternoon in Netherlands. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.